Hey, what's up YouTube? Baiken's a well-rounded character that sacrifices health for better mix-up options and better neutral. I think she's fun. I think she fits a lot of characters' playstyles. And today we're going to be doing a beginner's guide for her. So we're going to be talking about combos, Oki, how to play neutral with the character, and just general strategies that you can use to win some more games. Timestamps below, let's get started. So first of all, we need to talk about the pros and cons. I think some of her pros is she just has very strong space control, being that her pokes are good, 2S is very strong, Gatling's into 2HS, which is really good. She can do air tatami, it forces the opponent to approach. If the opponent has to approach us, this is going to be very annoying, and if they hit the air tatami, you can get a hit off that, right? JS is probably one of the best, if not the best, jumping button in the game. It just has crazy reach, it recovers really fast, so you can do like rising JS and then air backdash tatami. So like just general space control is really strong, and then like even JS on hit goes into Youzansen. That's plus, and it's a double overhead. You can also just go overhead low. She has an instant overhead, which is really strong. So she has very good mix up, and then if you get a throw, you get like tether, and then you can do cracked out stuff like that, and you get a full combo from that, right? So her mix up's really strong in certain situations, and if they're just blocking, like you have some really good pressure options. So like you could do stuff like this, you can just re-pressure, and if they're trying to mash, you can go into that, and then of course any of this on counter hit gets you a full combo, and if they're being more respectful, you can go into Kabari and then do some cool mix up after that. Yeah, she has a lot of good on block pressure, not to mention even her combo starter, this is like not that bad on block, and it can be hard to deal with. So some of her cons, she has really low health. Just look at how much damage this combo does. Yeah, so messed up the end, but that's almost half her health. And even just like a Baiken parry, look how much damage this does to her. That's a lot of damage. So lower than average health kind of sucks for this game because it means you could die pretty quick. She has a general, I think she has a hard time forcing her way in. So a lot of her space control moves, like like air tatami, buttons, nothing really moves her forward that well. Even this, like this is about her best move forward, but that can obviously be whiff punished pretty easily. So she has to take risks to get in, which means against some zoning characters, I can see her having some issue. And I think the other thing is like she's just really risky. Take for example the mix up we showed, this instant overhead on block, that's a full punish. And then like even some stuff like this, like that's all frame traps, but because that has a gap, it means they can just smash super in between. Parry is a reversal, but again, you can bait it out and get a full punish. And because she doesn't have the most health, like things can be kind of risky to do, right? Because you might just die from one hit. So going through normals in order, she has 5P. This 5P is actually pretty important because it's her quickest normal. So even though it doesn't have very good range, you really want to use 5P because it's 5 frames, which means that it can't be meaty thrown. So a lot of people will, to beat your parry, they'll just like run up and throw you. One of the ways you could beat that is you do 5P and you can counter hit them out of that. 5P on counter hit combos into 6K and you get a combo from that, and then you get Oki. Our 2P, I don't use too much, honestly. Occasionally I'll mash it, but probably my least used normal. I just think of it as like something if you're not sure what to do and it's a scramble situation, you can mash 2P. 6P, of course, decent anti-air. It lacks like compared to Ino, it lacks some like horizontal range, so like Ino's would hit there. Usually just do H Kabari after. It works on counter hit and non-counter hit, which is kind of nice, but sometimes you have to like delay the Kabari. It can be kind of a little janky. There I don't get anything, but yeah, depending on where it hits, you can get a combo, and then after Kabari you get good Oki after. Yeah, you can get an S tether as well, but like, so that might be worth it as well on counter hit, just because you can get pretty sick mix up after, but haven't really played around with that. 5K, so it's pretty quick, and you can get something like this, that combo, so it can be a pretty good punish tool. It also links into 6K as well, so it's just a general like good button to throw out. It's a pretty good normal at this range, right? Think of like after a space Kabari where you need something to dominate like this range right here. 5K is one of the best in class 7 frame normals there. So setting up that spacing is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to cover with 6K, right? 6K just Gatlings from, you know, 5K and Ps, and it's just a good combo filler. Also, true block strings of Tatami. Her 2K is just your standard 2K, changes into 2D. That's typically where you'll do it is your low starter for the mix-up. 5S, I don't use too much because I think 2S just reaches that much further. But it does have quicker recovery than 5S, so can be used on occasion. 2S, again, 2S is really, really good. The reason it's good is because on crouching or counter hit, it combos into 2H, and you get a full combo from it. You saw how much damage that did, and you get really good mix-up afterwards, right? The only issue is that if they're not standing or crouching, like it's not a full combo, but whatever, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Also, these S normals on counter hit will also link into S Kabari, so this works. This does not though, but generally you're just going into 2H. That 2S 2H string is really good. We don't talk about close 5S, but this is a good pressure starter because you get a full combo after. You can also be canceled into the instant overhead, so you kind of have like a weird 50-50 with this into low or this into overhead. 5H is just your general combo filler. You're only going to use that inside of combos. 2H, it can be pretty good in neutral. You don't want to always do it because like it has so much whiff recovery. So generally you want to buffer this in the 2H, but you can use it, especially like at this range. If they're like trying to play footsies with you, you could just be like, surprise. H Kabari does combo. It's pretty good, but if it's far, you don't get a combo, right? So you have to be really mindful. And at this range, you don't really get anything. Technically RC, right? Like if you're big brain and then get a full combo from that. Another place you'll use this is like pressure, so something like that's your basic bread and butter, and that does use 2H as well. The other cool thing about 5H is that it does like true combo into Kabari. You don't need a counter hit, so sometimes like for some punishes you'll want to do that. And then we have 6H. 6HS, I think it's only really a combo or frame trap. You don't really want to do this in neutral. It's pretty laggy. You might as well just do this instead. But you can get like big damage off a counter hit. So you can get like a juicy frame trap, and then that does tons of damage, which is pretty cool. But generally, you're only using that combos and frame traps. 5D, of course, is just the standard dust. Tap it to do a quick overhead, which you never do because you have this, which is way better. I think that's all of our ground normals. So for air normals, JP, honestly, I don't find myself using much. It is a decent air to air. So if they're jumping, you can go like air to air, but you don't really get much off of it. Like Eno, you can air dash or JP and get more pressure, but like Baiken, I guess you could do something like this, right? You get something like this. Yeah, this is like a true block string. There's so much block stun when you're in the air, so that's why that works. JK, you'll mainly use this in combos. It probably works as an air to air too, but I'm mainly using JP and JS. Yeah, Ruby. So you can get something like this, right? Or JD, and then if you're near the corner, right, you get full combo. JS, we kind of talked about in the intro. Very good normal, rising JS, and then you can move after it. Just do 2 JSs. JS into Youzansen, very strong because you get a full combo from it. And then, right, you can start. It's a party starter, right? It's just a very, very good jump in. Retreating JS is just really strong. It makes someone, they're rushing in, they'll just tag them. JH is, in theory, it's a pretty good jump normal, but like it still loses the 6P, right? So it's not like you could just beat out 6Ps with it. So I often find myself just using JS instead. But I guess at like this angle, it's probably pretty good. And then you can get a pretty decent combo from it. But yeah, JS is like so good that I find myself using that like 95% of the time. So JD, it's pretty notable. It's like pretty safe to do, right? Just kind of control space with it, especially if they're like someone that likes to be in the air, like Amelia. The other cool thing is it wall bounces, right? So a lot of our combos will like have something like this near the wall. It's kind of a little hard to convert just doing it like this, but yeah, using JD near the corner, it's pretty good. All right, so let's talk about our specials. So Washione's 4 specials, they're all really useful, right? So the most notable one is Kabari. So the S Kabari brings it close and you get a tether, right? This tether is 0 on block, so it means if we both press 5P, you get a clash, right? Generally, if you're up close against certain characters, you don't want to do it because your up close options aren't the best, although you can just parry, and that works pretty well against it. Outside like this range though, it's pretty good because you could get like a 5k 6k. Another cool thing you can do is I like to do this, and then I like to mix up. Your movement changes a lot after tether, and it's just something you kind of have to get a feel for, but you get a lot of cool stuff like that, right? So you can do a lot of cool overheads when you're tethered. It's kind of hard to go into tether too much, but the way I think of it is that like I tether in certain situations, and this lets me get more advantage. And usually those situations are on hit, and then on block, I either go into 5p parry or 5k. So we'll cover the other Kabari stuff later for the Oki. The H Kabari, it's a 2-hit thing. So like you do H Kabari, this is -3, which means you're safe, but you're minus. If they try to press a button, you can do the follow-up. So it's really good. This is like my most common block string ender. So let's say you run up, and like on counter hit, you get a combo. We'll go into that later. But let's say they block the first hit, right? Now, if they're pressing a button, obviously your best thing is to go for this. If they don't press a button because they respect the follow-up, you can kind of continue your pressure. One other thing, this follow-up on block, it looks like she's like super punishable, but she's actually only -3. So if you want to get easy wins against new players, you just do this, and then you do the parry afterwards. And if they're mashing, yeah, so it can be a little scary to hit after that. So a lot of people will like backdash. So you might be wondering how you beat this. This seems pretty strong. Well, one option that people do is there's a gap between these two hits, right? So you can DP, you can parry, right? You can also throw in between. You can also 6p. But the answer to all of these, of course, is just do this and then hit a button after, right? And that's how you can punish it that way. One other thing about H Kabari is that if you hold the follow-up, you go past them, right? This honestly isn't pretty good because it's kind of gimmicky. Like most people just throw you on reaction. So like I'm just looking for it. All right, I see her go by, and then I punish it. Like a delayed throw will catch that. But it can be pretty good, especially the where I like it is on whiff in neutral. Goes really far, right? And the way you do this is all you do is you hold the heavy slash button. All right, so let's talk about parry. Parry is actually a pretty strong wake up option, right? Especially if the character doesn't have things to meaty with, like Tatami mat, that's a projectile. It works against all physical counters. A couple things people always ask about parry. Why is my parry always whiff? Well, it's frame 1 active, which means that it's really good on like interrupting things, right? Especially very, very tight things that you can't jab out of. So, okay, I run up and I do a 5S. Like parry is very good in this situation. Parry is not good in a situation like in neutral, right? Like if you're just trying to parry like a button like this, because it can be kind of hard to time and then you get counter hit. And even if you get a far parry, you get nothing off that. That is useless. So it's only good up close and if they're timing their things right. So a couple of things people will do against the parry is they'll do like a really delayed normal, and this will make my parry whiff. And see, I get counter hit. So the way you beat this is you just mash, or my favorite, you do instant overhead. Instant overhead sometimes works. It can be kind of tricky. Yeah, it depends on the timing. You can also mash throw. You have a lot of different options. A couple cool tricks you can use with the parry. If you press RC right after, you see how the RC comes out, but if your parry works, the RC doesn't actually come out. So this is really good. If you have 50 meter, just doing this, pressing parry and then sleep delay RC is really strong. Another cool thing you can do with the parry is that if you press 214 P and K, you get FD, right? But if they cross up, you get a parry. Pretty neat. So it's really good against characters with cross ups like Milia, for example. Oh yeah, we'll talk about the Tatami mat. Tatami mat is basically your combo starter. It's okay in pressure. There's an issue though. If you do it like in pressure, let's say someone does his Tatami mat, well, someone could just super in between. So it's kind of a gimmick. So generally you don't want to do it on block unless it's like up close or it makes the second hit whiff. Because if the second hit whiffs, it's kind of hard to super that on reaction. Or if it's up close, it's a true block string, which means that you can't super in between. The one other kind of gimmicky thing I like with Tatami is that if you have a Kabari on, if you use something like a 2S Tatami mat, it sucks them into the Tatami. And when something like this happens, you're actually plus on block. Generally, Tatami's minus on block, but if only the second hit hits, you're generally plus. Air Tatami is really good. You literally just do this and they run into it, right? You actually get like a combo. Like some people are like they'll be really impatient and they'll chase you. Being annoying with Baiken is really good, but you see how you get a combo off this too. Your main convert is like you just do a 2M, but it can be kind of tricky to time, as you can see. So something like that works pretty cool. It's also used for safe jumps, so you'll see something like this, and that's plus on block too. The last thing is Youzansen. Everyone asks how to do this instant overhead. I just roll my stick from 2 through 6, 9, and it comes out pretty easy. So it gets you a full combo on counter hit, but on regular hit, they can actually mash throw, which is kind of funny. So let's say I do this and then I do a 5S, they can just throw me out. So you have to be really careful. The way you beat this is you either just backdash or you do another Youzansen. Yeah, so they do something like that and you get a full combo. There's also something you can do to make this more plus. You do 9, 2, 3, 6, which means that you hit up and then you do Youzansen, which is like really, really hard, right? The way you can actually take advantage of this though is from a block normal. It's really easy. And so we'll take that same situation. And you see how the reversal throw didn't win there? It's because you're actually more plus if you do 9, 2, 3, 6, because you do it lower to the ground, technically. So yeah, you can get pretty cool stuff like that. It's also pretty good in the air. So like I said, like JS, Youzansen. So Youzansen normally minus on block, which means they can punish it if you do this, right? You see how that's a punish, but if you do it in the air, like after this, so this is actually safe, which means that you can, it's actually your turn to press if they block Youzansen when you're falling from the ground. So she has 2 supers actually. She has a gun super 214, 214P. I don't really use this super, honestly. It's a good utility super. Like you can like kind of snipe out things. Has very set angle. Also, it's plus on block, but again, you might as well just use RC. It also has some use in combos. Like I think some of our optimal 100-meter combos are going to use the gun. And then our other super is just your invincible reversal, right? So get a full comp. Right, it wall breaks. This is your wall break ender of choice. Sometimes, yeah, if they're like me throwing you, this will beat that, or it'll beat a lot of different setups, right? All right, so let's talk about my basic combos. As you guys know, I don't recommend people learn the super sweaty combos to start with. If you want to learn them, I put a link in the description below to some of the more optimal ones. In this guide, I'm only going to talk about the combos I think you should start off learning. Your basic bread and butter, it's either 5S, 2H, or 5S, 2D. Into Tatami mat, 2S, and then H Kabari. You're gonna see this combo a lot. It's really good. It's also your low mix-up option as well. Another very common situation you'll get is this JS into 236S. So how do you combo from this? Well, it depends. Sometimes they're gonna be on the ground like this if it's up higher, and then you just do 5S, 2H into Tatami. But if it's lower, you'll see it actually pops them up. So what you do here is you just do 5S into 6HS and then H Tatami. And then your basic RC combo, you just go 5S, 6HS, H Kabari. And if you want to make it look a little harder, you can do IED, Tatami, and then you do the same exact thing. That version is a little bit better, but it is also harder. You don't quite need it. Again, we talked about one of the most important combos, which is this. I do want to stress that you see how that second hit of the H Kabari whiffed? You have to sometimes delay the H Kabari like that, just because sometimes it pops them up high enough. So all you do to delay it is you just press the second follow-up like just a little bit delayed. And then you should probably know a DP punish, which is either 5H, 2H, or 6H. These all combo into S Kabari. You can do many different versions, right? But generally what this looks like is H Kabari, and then you do some type of either 5S dust or something into Tatami mat, and then you do your ender. So example of what this looks like: S Kabari, 5S dust, and then you go for your Oki mix-up, right? Which that actually hits meaty, which is pretty cool. I like doing that. But there's a lot of different cool mix-ups you can do. Oh wow, okay, yeah, that looks pretty optimal. You'll see this situation a lot too, because like you'll do 2H counter hit and then an H Kabari, You don't want to go into the follow-up here. What I do is 5k into 6HS and the H Kabari. If you're near the corner, you can get actually some pretty cool stuff. Jump canceling the 5k, right? So you can get something pretty cool like that. All right, so this works too. In the corner, same idea. Yeah, so same idea. Pretty cool combo. And you can kind of freestyle the end a little bit, but that's what I go for. A couple other hit confirms you need to know. If this H Kabari counter hits, the most optimal is you do 5H after it. But it's really hard because if you do it too early, you get the follow-up. And if you do it too late, it doesn't combo like that. But technically, this works, right? If you're closer, you can just get a 2D into Tatami, right? Into something like that. Looks like if they're crouching, you can get this. Yeah. And so after Escabari counter hit, I guess you could do this, right? So something like that works. Again, it doesn't have to be optimal. Just find what works best for you and go from there. But you do get a launch into a tatami mat into a combo. Okay, so let's talk about Oki. There's a few situations you get Oki, right? After throw, you have like unlimited mix-up, right? Basically. A few of my go-tos. If you do 2369K, so you get instant air tatami, this hits cross-up, which is kind of gross. And then you can go into same kind of combos we talked about before, right? If you do 8 into that does not cross up. And then you can do some cool things, like if you just hold up and then 2D, that actually hits meaty. So I've been doing that a lot. And if you just hold regular up, it doesn't cross up, and that's 2D. That's really good as well. Another mix-up I like doing is go forward and then back, and then that hits meaty overhead. I like doing this just because it looks really cool. But I find people don't get hit by that a lot. So you have two main Oki situations, knockdown situations with the character. So this is a very common knockdown, right? So you have a couple options. You see how I just whiffed a jump normal there, but if you do instant air dash and the tatami, that actually saves jumps, right? So that's pretty good. The other thing I'll do here is you do instant air and then Youzansen, and that crosses up. But you do have to micro dash beforehand. And then you can RC and then, you know, get a combo from that, right? So there'll be like let's say you get 2K 2D tatami, which is it's like your just general hit confirm from tatami, right? This you can just safe jump and do it normal. A little less frame advantage, but it gives you a perfect timing for IID safe jump. Against characters that don't have a DP, you can delay your air dash a little bit, and then you can go for a double overhead, or go for empty low, or go for a overhead low. So you kind of get that pretty cool mix up going off of that knockdown, or you can also do it off this as well. See? So quite good. One last example of Oki, we'll share some tech from our JP overlords. When they're still tethered, let's say you get Escabari combo or something of that sort, right? You get a pretty cool mix up. So that's my go-to, is I just do the cross up because that hits meaty. But there's some other really cool stuff you can do, right? Yeah, this mix up, right? Because they're still tied down to you, you can do something cool like that and then go for a safe jump. So in summary, neutral is a combination of JS, air tatami, 2S buffered into 2HS, JS's or JS air dash into S Youzansen, right? When you're on defense, fundamentals are important. Gold burst, obviously still very strong in this game. Backdash, FD, using fuzzy options are really important. So hey, consider checking out the guide on that. Also, while you're here, consider subscribing to my YouTube. You do have access to a parry, and the parry is very strong. Again, don't forget the option selected, parry out, and then so they can't punish your recovery. Do it on wake up, it's very good. And if they're trying to get around your parry by doing meaty grabs or delaying their normals, then either just use Zansu wake up or just mash on wake up. They're both really good options. You have to like kind of feel your opponent. Are they scared of the parry or are they not? And base your defensive options on that, right? And then you have super just in case you want to like invul through something that you can't use the parry. You can actually parry the super like after the flash, which is pretty good. So in case like someone's trying to RC, you can just parry it like that. And then for offense, right? Your main go-to is the high-low, Youzansen. Very good offense tool. RCing it makes it a lot safer, so I like to go for that. You also have 2D into Tatami mat. That's your kind of go-to low. So you mix up between that. You can mix it off of a 5S. They both work off that. And then let's say they block the mix-up. Generally, you want to frame trap with Kabari. If they block that, right, then you have enough time to go for like a Kabari. And then after the Kabari, you can go for something like a 5K. It's a very good option after Kabari when it's spaced. Kabari on block is really strong. Make sure you do the follow-up, condition them, and if they're not pressing after the follow-up, then do re-pressures with this, right? Get your counter hit, go ham, and then once you get the knockdown, run really good knockdown mix-up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys like the content, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. It really helps out the channel. And if you have any Baiken tips or any additional information, please leave it down in the comments below. I also linked a couple things, good resources down in the description, so consider checking those out. And thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate it. I really like this character, so we're going to be posting some more Baiken content on the YouTube. Next goal, win the tournament, which hopefully is not too far off. Anyways, appreciate you guys for watching. Have a great day.